The world likes to believe that drug empires grow from the slums from broke people chasing fast money. But what if I told you that some of the most powerful drug mafias in history were not created by crime alone, but by the world's most secret intelligence agency, the CIA? What if the very institution that protects freedom is secretly promoting global addiction, corruption, and anarchy in the name of power and politics? This is the untold story of how the CIA became the silent godfather behind the global drug trade. It all started in the 1940s when World War II was ending and America was trying to establish its dominance over every corner of the world. The CIA, born in 1947, was designed to defeat enemies through covert operations that never made headlines or history books. But as the Cold War took hold, the agency realized something terrifyingly effective. Drugs could be a weapon, not against the soldiers, but against the society. Let's turn to Southeast Asia, a place known as the Golden Triangle, where the borders of Laos, Myanmar, and Thailand meet. During the Vietnam War, the area was filled with opium, the raw material for heroin. Officially, America was fighting communism in Asia, but behind closed doors, the CIA was making deals with warlords and opium smugglers. Their mission? Keep anti-communist militias funded, no matter where the money comes from. And the drug trade became their silent bank. Air America, a CIA-owned airline, played an important role here. It looked like a normal commercial carrier, but in reality, it was smuggling opium and heroin throughout Southeast Asia. Villages that once grew rice are now growing poppies. In Laos, local warlords like General Vang Pao became millionaires overnight. But his rise wasn't luck, it was engineered. The CIA supplied planes, protected trade routes, and turned a blind eye to drug shipments as long as the profits helped finance America's secret wars. By the 1970s, heroin addiction was rampant in the US military. Thousands of American soldiers were returning from Vietnam under the influence of heroin, which was indirectly financed by their own government. But no one dared to talk about it. CIA involvement remained buried under national security. Then came the 1980s, the era of Reagan, Cold War paranoia, and another secret battlefield, Latin America. The CIA turned its attention to Nicaragua, where it secretly supported Contra rebels against the leftist Sandinista government. Congress had banned funding for this war, but the CIA found another way: cocaine. Through a network of Nicaraguan smugglers, cocaine from Colombia's cartels began to arrive in American cities. The profits were then spent to finance the Contras. It was a deadly triangle: cocaine, cash, and covert operations. This is where names like Pablo Escobar and the Medellin cartel rose to fame. They weren't just random criminals, they were part of a geopolitical game. While the DEA was fighting the war on drugs on American streets, the CIA was quietly protecting those same drug routes for political gain. Journalists such as Gary Webb later exposed this shocking link in his investigation, Dark Alliance. He revealed how CIA operations fueled the crack epidemic in Los Angeles, devastating Black communities. Webb's career was destroyed, and he was later found dead in 2004, officially ruled a suicide. But many believe his death was a message. Some truths are not meant to be told. Meanwhile, in Afghanistan, the pattern repeated itself. When the Soviet Union invaded in 1979, the CIA launched Operation Cyclone, one of the costliest covert wars in American history. Billions of dollars were spent to arm the Afghan Mujahideen, including a young terrorist named Osama bin Laden. But weapons were not the only trade that fueled war. Afghanistan's opium production skyrocketed under CIA protection. The Mujahideen used heroin profits to buy guns, while the CIA ignored the flow of drugs to Europe and the United States. By the late 1980s, Afghanistan had become the world's largest heroin producer, a title it still holds today. After the Soviet Union withdrew, the same warlords empowered by the CIA turned into drug barons who controlled opium fields that would later fund terrorist organizations. Irony? The same CIA-backed terrorists became America's next enemy in the war on terror. The cycle of anarchy and profit continued. But why would the CIA do this? The answer is simple: control. Drugs aren't just about money, they are about manipulation. They can destabilize society, finance proxy wars, and maintain silence. In Latin America, Asia, and the Middle East, the agency found that drug addiction could debilitate nations as effectively as bombs. And in a perverse way, every addiction, every trespasser, and every gang war became a byproduct of national interests. In the 1990s, after the Cold War ended, many believed that the dark era of the CYA's covert drug dealing was over. But history tells something else. In Colombia, the U.S. launched Plan Colombia, claiming to fight narcotics and terrorism. Yet reports emerged that paramilitary groups funded by U.S. aid were linked to cocaine trafficking. Similar whispers emerged from Mexico, where the cartel's rise coincided with U.S. intelligence cooperation. Every time one drug empire fell, another mysteriously rose up, often with access to weapons, logistics, and intelligence that no ordinary criminal could have. Today, Afghanistan still produces over 80% of the world's opium, and new synthetic drugs like fentanyl are spreading across the Americas. But the roots of this crisis go back decades, dating back to the first secret flights over the jungles of Laos and Vietnam. The blueprint never changed. Only players did this. Defenders of the CIA argue that these were necessary evils, strategic moves in a dangerous world. But the human cost is undeniable. Lakhs of lives ruined by drug addiction. Families were scattered, countries became unstable, and despite all this, the agency remained untouched, protected by secrecy and silence. Let's look at a scary pattern. Every time America declares a war on drugs, the flow of drugs increases. During Vietnam, heroin boomed. During the Contras, there was an explosion of cocaine. During Afghanistan, opium increased. It's almost as if war is business. The story of the CIA and global drug lords is not just about politics. It is about power without accountability. From Pablo Escobar to Afghan warlords, from the Golden Triangle to the streets of Los Angeles, a hidden hand kept pipelines open. Governments changed, presidents came and went, but the machinery of covert manipulation never stopped. So when you hear about drug busts or cartels being taken down, remember, for every empire that falls, another quietly rises. Same path, same profit, same invisible acceptance. Because as long as drugs can finance wars, influence nations, and maintain global dominance, someone in the shadows will always keep the trade alive. The truth is uncomfortable. The CIA didn't just fight the drug war, it made them. It turned narcotics into a foreign policy tool. And perhaps the greatest tragedy of all is that the victims, addicts, families, communities, never knew that their suffering was engineered by the very people sworn to protect them. In the end, the question is not whether the CIA created global drug lords. The question is, when did they stop? Because behind every overdose, every cartel shootout, and every government cover-up, there may still be the fingerprints of the same agency that once flew opium on its planes, funded insurgents with cocaine cash, and traded morality for control. The drug trade as we know it may not have originated in the slums, but in the shadows of Langley, Virginia, where power and secrecy remain the world's most dangerous addictions. They told us the war on drugs was meant to protect us. But what if it was never a war? Only business. The CIA didn't just fight cartels, it manufactured them. It didn't just chase traffickers, it chose them. And every addict, every broken family, every lost life became collateral in a silent war for power, profit, and control. Decades have passed, yet the cycle continues. New drugs, new dealers, new enemies, but the same invisible hands pulling the strings. So the next time you hear about a drug bust or see another kingpin taken down, ask yourself, is this really justice or just another illusion from the same playbook written long ago? Because in the shadows of global politics, the real drug lords may not carry guns or tattoos, they carry badges, and they work in silence.